So as a part of our ongoing tutorial on clearing and setting conditional formatting rules to a specific range in Google Sheets with AppScript, I have also made a pseudo-class that has two methods in it. The first one is a clear method and a set method. So that means all you need to do is to jump on the tutorial page that I have here and scroll down until you get to the code here. And then you can go down to this little button here that says copy and select copy to make a copy of it. And then you can paste it into a new page in your Google AppScript project and use it directly from there. This tutorial is just going to walk through some examples of usage for this pseudo class. So let's dive in. So the main entry point into the pseudo class is the range conditional formatting function here. And that takes a Google Sheet object here. Once the object has been loaded into the main part of the class, then there are two methods which we'll scroll down and have a look at now. So our two methods are clearRule and setRule. And each one of those rules have their own list of parameters that we can put in. So let's have a look at these as we go, and then we'll run some example scripts so you can see how they run. Okay, so the first one is a clearRule, and that takes two parameters. First parameter in the clearRule is the range or ranges. So you can put in a single Google Sheets range object, or you can put in an array of Google Sheets range objects. Then the next parameter is an optional clear type. So you can choose to add in this clear type. If you don't have it there, it'll be set to a default of 0, or you can add it in yourself with a particular number, either 0, 1, or 3. So let's have a look at an example. Okay, so I've got my sample script over here, and we've got this test 1 on the left-hand side in this Google Sheet, and on the right-hand side is the connected script for this, and we've got our test one up the top here. So for our first test, we are going to first grab our spreadsheet and then grab our sheet tab, which is going to be test 1 here. You can see, and maybe let's zoom in a bit so you can see a bit better. Okay. And then from here, we are going to get a range B4 to B7 that we want to clear. In our first example, where we don't have the second parameter, it's going to just grab the exact match to that range. So what do I mean by that? So let's just grab this range here and just highlight it so you can see the conditional formatting appear. Now, in our first example, we have B4 to B7 for a single range to clear. So that's going to be anything that has a B4 to B7. So let's look at this one here. So this red one here doesn't have an exact range matching that. This one here has a B4 to B7. So you expect this range in this conditional formatting rule to be removed. And then also the same with this blue one, should also be removed. Okay, and then if we have a look at this green one, you can see that they overlap. So it encompasses this entire range from here to here in this first example. Okay, so when we run our script, we want to see this orange and blue one disappear, but the red stay here. And then this green one will come in and fill in these other two areas here as well. So let's just cancel that for now. Okay, so let's go over here and just comment out this second stage here, just so you can see this first example. And in this first example, we have our sheet. So we've collected our sheet here, and then we've got our range. So we've inputted our range here, and it's a single range, not an array of ranges. And let's just go ahead and select this function and then hit run. All right, so it looks like everything worked out fine here. So you can see now that the orange and blue conditional formatting that had the exact match to the range that we had here, this B4 to B7, were removed, but this green conditional formatting wasn't removed in that range, and nor was this red one either. Cool. Now we can do the same for an array of ranges. So let's just Control Z to bring that back. And we'll also include this conditional formatting here. And perhaps we'll just hide this one here, and we'll hit save. Okay, so in this example, we want to remove the conditional formatting that has an exact match with these ranges here. So the B12 to B15, so this one here. And then our next one is going to be B20 to B23, this one here. And then our last one will be B28 to B31, this one here. Okay, so we should see these three of these 6 ranges, so the orange, 3 of the orange and 3 of the blue be removed this time. Let's hit run. And you can see they've been removed. Perfect. But these ones have stayed the same because they're in that single rule. Awesome. Let's bring that back. Let's head back to the class page on my site. We've completed this first example here. Now, same situation is going to happen when we include the clear type and have it equal 0. It's going to have an exact match here. So let's go ahead and do that briefly. Okay, so we brought everything back and let's just apply this to same again. So I'll uncomment this, and this time around we'll have our range, and then you can see here we've got our 3 options. So clear exactly matching range, that's the one we want, so we'll hit 0. And we'll do the same for the array of ranges. Hit save. We'll comment out the last one, hit save and run. And it does the same thing as we expected. And let's just swap that around. So we'll comment the top one and uncomment the bottom one, hit save, and then we'll run and we'll see these last 3 disappear as well. Cool, everything worked as planned. Sometimes you don't want to delete the exact range, but you want to delete any conditional formatting rule that matches the range or is smaller than that range. So let's see how that operates. Okay, so we can have a look again. So let's scroll down to this next example, and you can see if we use a clear type 1, it's going to clear the conditional formatting rule that has a range equal to or within, bit of a spelling mistake, I should fix that, within the target range. And we can also apply the same for ranges. And let's go ahead now and have a look at our sample script. Okay, here we are. And we will scroll down to our second test here. And now we're on test 2. So we're on sheet tab 2. So it says sheet tab 2 here is the sheet we're going to get. Again, that's going to be applied to the class or the pseudo class here. And then we're going to get a range, which we'll put in here, just a single range for this example, multiple ranges for this example. You can see here, those same set of ranges. This time they're extended out from B through to C here this time. You can see for those 3 as well. We're going to set the type to 1 this time. Okay, so what do we expect to see on the left-hand side here? So let's just select everything again so we can see what's going on in the conditional formatting. This time around, we want to delete everything within this range here. So anything that has a range within, for example, B4 to B7, or matches B4 to B7 will be removed. So that means the orange will be removed, the blue will be removed, and the red will be removed, but the green will overtake that space now because its range isn't within the selected range. So let's work on the single example first. So we'll go ahead and comment this out, hit save, and we'll change this over to our second test here and hit run. Excellent. So this time around, you notice that the red had been removed out as well as the orange and blue because it was within the target range for that single item. Okay, so we will comment this first one out now and uncomment the second one and hit save. And again, what we're doing here is we have our 3 ranges here. We iterate through each one to get that range, and then we apply that array of ranges to our first argument for clearRule. And let's go ahead and hit run again. And you can see now that all those ranges within the selected target range have been removed. Okay, Control Z and Control Z brings it back. Great. Let's go back to let's have a look at our third type. Okay, so for our clear type number 2 here, so it can clear a conditional formatting rule range that has a range equal to or within the target range. Okay, so that's like before. Or rebuilds the range where any range overlaps the target range, removing that portion of the range. Okay, it's a bit of a mouthful, but let's have a look at it visually. Okay, so in this example number 3 here, we can see that we've got these ranges here. So we want to cut out everything here, just like we did before, but also cut out this green one here. So that conditional formatting will only go across here. It'll go down here, and then across here, but it won't, that green conditional formatting will not go in the middle. So we'll just clear out everything in that selected range. Okay, so let's go down to that example now. Okay, and that's basically anything that's overlapping the target range will be removed. Let's comment out the multiple range example. We'll hit save. And as you can see, we've selected 2 this time for the clear overlapping. And we're in test 3 here. And then we've got our range B4 to C7 that we don't want to see any conditional formatting in at all. Select this range here, just so you can see what's going on in the conditional formatting rules. And now we'll change this to number 3 and hit run. So now you can see the exact match has been removed. So the orange and blue ones have been removed out of here. The red conditional formatting range that was here was removed. And then for this greater one here has been cut out and split into 4 separate conditional formatting ranges in this cell, not empty here, as you can see. Cool. So let's go ahead and apply this to the to multiple ranges now. So we will uncomment all this and hit save. And then we'll go ahead and hit run again. And you can see that has been applied to multiple ranges here. Nice. Let's go back to the written tutorial and we'll scroll on down to our set rules. Now the same thing applies to set rules. If you've been following along with the tutorial series, you'll know that with conditional formatting rules, it's all or nothing. So that means if you set a single rule, that means all the existing rules are removed. If you clear a rule, it means all rules in that sheet tab will be removed as well. So you have to store them separately and then bring them back in. The beauty of this class or this pseudo class is to allow you to not worry about that and just set a rule and it will hold the old rules and then it'll add in the new rule on top. So let's go ahead and set a rule. So with the set rule method here, you can see that it takes an array of rules with the conditional formatting rule builder, and then it has an optional position as well. So what does position mean? Let's go back to our Google Sheet for a quick example, and we'll head over to test 4. Actually, we'll stay on test 3 just so you can see. So let me just select this range here. You can see there's an order of ranges here. So if I put this red one here below the orange, you'll see it disappear because the order of priority starts from the top. So this will have priority over anything underneath it. So sometimes it's important when we want to set a range in an existing group of rules, we want to position that in a way that it suits us. Okay, so let's drag that back and head over to test 4 here. So let's have a quick look at our function that's going to run this first. So first we call our spreadsheet again, and then we call the sheet, which is going to be the sheet tab, which will be test 4. Then we're just going to let a range, and we'll change that range as we go through the different types of tests that we'll be running here. Next, we're going to add 2 very, very simple conditional formatting rules. We do this by creating a rule using the spreadsheet app new conditional formatting rule here. And all we want it to equal is a particular number. So when the text is equal to 1, we want to set it to this color. When the text is equal to 2 here, for rule 2, we want to set it to this background color. Very simple rules just for this example. Of course, you can set it to any of the other rules that are available in conditional formatting in Google Sheets. Okay, so let's look at test 1, and we'll go ahead and comment at all the other tests here. Test 1 is first going to grab a range, which will be this A3 to L8. So A3 to L8. And all it's going to do is add in a rule without the optional position here. So rule 1 will set the range, and we'll build that rule with the rule builder. And we'll do the same for rule 2. Then we'll call the range conditional formatting pseudo class, adding in the target sheet, and then we'll set rules with the set rule method with our array of rules, which would be rule 1 and rule 2. Let's hit save and change our options here to, I believe it's this one here, and we'll see it in action. Cool. So as you can see here, it has positioned the conditional formatting rules to the top of this range here. Now, there were other ranges in this sheet, as you can see here. And by default, it has just appended the rules to the end. So that is the default position of the first rule. Okay, so in our next example, we want to do something very similar. We want to append our 2 rules to the bottom of the rules array. So the same as the default. We're just going to change the range location to this one here. And we should see this appear underneath. So only these last 2 rows should display the rule. So let's go ahead and uncomment the next test. And we'll comment out the first one. And hit save. And as you can see, we're going to be, our target range is A14 to L18 here, so this one here. All right, let's go ahead and run. Cool, and that worked as expected. So now this rule is going to be beneath this target rule here. And in the overall rule set for the entire sheet tab, you'll see it appearing at the very bottom here. All right, so our next example, append 2 rules to the top of the rules array. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. So we'll just comment this one out and reveal our test 3. And in this example, we're going to set our position to 0. So that'll position it at the very top of the rules array. This is going to appear here. It should appear over the top of this conditional formatting rule here, because we were going to set it to 0 and then go all the way down from A24 to L28. Let's go ahead and give it a run. Cool. And you can see now that it has overwritten this range, and indeed it will have gone to the very top of all the conditional formatting rules in the entire sheet tab. So let's just hit Control A to see it all, and you can see that rule has appeared at the very top here now. All right, let's have a look at our last example. Now, our last example is probably the trickiest example to implement for yourself. And that's because if you're adding in multiple new conditional formatting rules to existing rule set, you really have to know the position of where those rules appear to put it in the right location. So here we want to append 2 rules after the first. One changes, so this number 1 changes, so it should overwrite this 1 green here, but the 2 doesn't change because that's at the very, very top of this rule set here. So we need to find where these are in our list of ranges. It doesn't mean we should go -2, try and put this in the range and fit it here, because it has to also take into consideration all the conditional formatting rules in the sheet tab. So let's Control A and A again. So we need to fit it somewhere here. So if we go -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So -6 should be the location that would position that in now. Now, if we didn't have these rules here, it'd be a different kettle of fish. But because they're here now, we know that they're here. Means we can set this rule to -6, and those rules should appear somewhere here. So let's go ahead now and run the script and see what happens. And you can see the 2 new rules have indeed appeared here between this white test 6 is exactly 2. So we can see the 2 that has priority over these 2 new rules here. But the cell is not empty, which encompasses these 1. It doesn't have priority over the 2 new rules that we've added in. So that's all there is for you to use this simple conditional formatting pseudo-class to set and clear conditional formatting rules in a range that already has conditional formatting rules. If you want to learn more about clearing and setting conditional formatting rules in Google Sheets with app scripts, you can take a look at the video tutorials or have a look at the playlist that this video is on. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, subscribe. Until next time.